Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
Live at 5 o'clock, this home was used by Detroit's suspected serial killer. Now tonight, people are saying it should not be used as an art project.
Those debates may be over, but the pitch for your vote, well, that's just getting underway. You've got presidential contenders all over Detroit today trying to connect with you.
She was poisoned by her husband.
Brian was trying to kill me to keep his comfortable life from slipping away.
Emotional moments in court and a controversial sentence in Macomb County. We'll start there. Good to have you with us today on Local 4 News at 5. A Macomb man pleaded guilty to poisoning his wife, and he was in court to be sentenced today.
It's important to know before you hear this story that the maximum penalty for this crime is 15 years in prison. Let's bring in Jason Colthorpe for what was an intense sentencing, Jason.
Yeah, it sure was. And more important to note, guys, the minimum sentence guideline here was more than a year in prison. What you need to know is Brian Kozlowski and his wife were still living together but going through a divorce. It had gotten so bad, she said he actually urinated in her shampoo and conditioner bottles, but she soon learned he was also poisoning her. After 29 years together, 22 married, Brian Kozlowski's wife filed for divorce in May of 2018. 2 months later, she started noticing symptoms of blurred vision and feeling very tired on days where her husband made the coffee. She even had a near crash on 375 when she dozed off at the wheel during rush hour. So she installed cameras and saw this. Her then husband mixing in the equivalent of 8 sleeping pills into the coffee pot.
I felt a horrible coldness in the air, as if I was being hunted by a dangerous predator. But in this nightmare, the predator was Brian. I fell to my knees and cried. I could barely move.
She also revealed a chilling conversation with her daughter, who told her she too drank the coffee one morning and drove 30 minutes to work.
She was able to make it to her desk, only to immediately fall asleep for 2 hours. Brian had successfully poisoned his own daughter and set her on a path that could have killed her that morning.
Deeply like to apologize.
And then came the sentence, for which the guideline was a minimum of 1.5 years in prison.
And if he comes back in society as a hardened criminal, what have I done? Nothing.
Judge Anthony Viviano then stunned the court, sentencing Kozlowski to 5 years probation and 60 days in jail to be served on weekends.
The people are requesting that you reconsider the sentence. A 60-day weekend sentence is a slap in the face.
I'm sorry, what?
The 60-day weekend-only sentence.
Counsel, I do not let anybody speak after I've issued a judgment.
And that's where it ended. It's also important to know this wasn't a one-time thing. This had happened with the coffee several times. Now, Macomb County prosecutor, very upset, as you might imagine. He said this about the sentence. It's almost as though the judge is more concerned with the defendant's freedom than he is with the safety of the victim.
Well,
yeah.
Did the judge give any indication what pushed for the lighter sentence? Why?
You know, one of the things he said leading up to this was curious. He said anyone who tries to influence the sentence is acting improperly, which he didn't direct at anyone specifically. But yesterday, prosecutor Eric Smith put out a press release kind of demanding prison time or else they would appeal the sentence. So he kind of threw that out there. You don't know if the judge was talking to him. Don't try and push me to do what you want to do. And then he made the sentence.
I think a lot of people would be surprised at what the maximum sentence was, just 15 years,
right.
and obviously didn't get anywhere close to what the maximum
Just
was.
amazing, and to hear what it did to that family.
Yeah,
Fascinating
really.
story. Yeah. All right, Jason. Now to a fatal accident in Sterling Heights this morning that temporarily closed Ryan Road. Sky 4 was over the scene this morning. This happened just around 11 a.m., just south of 17 Mile Road. 3 vehicles involved in total, and that included a motorcycle. The 18-year-old victim was in critical condition for a time after the accident. However, he would later die from his injuries. Still waiting on word from the investigation on what caused it all from Sterling Heights Police.
Well, after 2 days of heated debates here in Detroit, you'd think the candidates would already be long gone, but instead they were all over town today.
They like the place, maybe. That includes 2 frontrunners, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, who didn't play so nice all the time last night on the debate stage. It also includes another candidate. Let's get to Mara McDonald, who's live at St. Andrews Hall ahead of an event tonight for Cory Booker, who most people felt did pretty well last night, Mara.
That's right, but he was also involved in that melee on the stage, too. There were all sorts of punches being thrown last night on that stage. So, yes, Booker in town tonight, Biden in town, Harris in town. We're in the media setup right now, and I probably haven't been in St. Andrews Hall 20-plus years. Kind of nice to be back, and that's where Corey is tonight. Take a look. After all the punches and elbows that were thrown last night, 3 of the candidates who took up the most oxygen on stage are working Detroit today, including the current frontrunner, former Vice President Joe Biden.
I can win Michigan. They know me. I've worked my whole life. I come from the middle class. I understand it. I know what's going on. And if you notice, I promise you, if I get the nomination, I will win Michigan.
This state is relevant in presidential politics in a way it hasn't been in decades. Trump changed everything. Michigan was taken for granted as a blue state by the Dems last cycle. Trump campaigned here relentlessly and won it. The electoral math suggests it will be Michigan and Wisconsin that decide the entire presidential race in 2020.
I am fully prepared to work to earn the vote of everyone. And I will not take those votes for granted. I know I have to make my case, and I'm prepared to do that.
Last night's debate was the far more combative and bruising of the two, and the road to the September debate in Texas will have far fewer candidates because they can't meet the polling or donor threshold. Back here live, so Senator Booker's event starting here probably around 6 o'clock tonight, and don't be surprised if you see a lot more of these type of campaign events on the Democrat side, at least going into their nomination process over the coming weeks and months. All of a sudden, Michigan is very important in the process. We're live downtown tonight. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
That razor-thin margin that ended up turning the state last time around for Donald Trump, very much on the minds of these candidates. They talked about it during the debates, some, Mara, but also the proof is in watching how many of them stuck around today.
It's interesting, you know, Devin, usually when we have events like this in town, they jet out of here immediately. You have 3 of the big contenders from last night staying in town today and working their way around town because, I mean, the math shows it. And it's not just one pundit that's saying it, it's everybody who is looking at the math in 2020. It matters here like it never has, probably in my lifetime.
We are going to be a vital prize for both sides, that's for sure. All right, Mark. Kim.
Well, there is a debate raging tonight over this vacant house near Mack and Mount Elliott. It's where the body of Tammy Jones, one of the victims connected to a suspected serial killer, was found. And as the community pleads for the city-owned property to be torn down, something is being done with the house that few expected. Let's get out to Sean Lay live at that house with more. Sean, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Kimberly. Tammy Jones's body was found weeks and weeks ago inside this building or inside this house. The house is still here. She was found strangled and sexually assaulted. There are some tributes to Tammy here that were put up right away once the home was boarded up. Now, though, some people have come by, put up clocks and other designs. I'm telling you, up on top, all around this house, and plenty of people were saying to us, look, this is not an art installation. This is really a sacred place here connected to this serial killer thing. Then with the house torn down, not turned into kind of an artist's curiosity. The house on Mack near Mount Elliott is ground zero for Detroit's serial killer investigation. The vacant home is where Tammy Jones was killed. It's where police believe suspect D'Angelo Martin used the home as a base to attack women in this area. The home is owned by the city of Detroit. Since the body of Jones was found, the home has been boarded up and is now becoming an unwanted neighborhood attraction. Do you want it gone?
Yes, it wouldn't hurt. Or somebody can come in, demolition, tear it down and rebuild.
We watched as people who knew and loved Tammy Jones write messages of love about her on the house. Now someone else has come by and added images of clocks all over this home.
But these people that put I love you, Tammy, are people that actually knew her and misses her. She was a good person.
A debate here now raging. People who knew the victims, they want the home torn down, not used as an art project. Others see the meaning of what's being said at this house of horrors.
There's a message in those clocks. They're not just there. He's asking you, what time is it? Is it time for us to get ourselves together? It's time for us to do some things together as a community. I know everybody does not like the clocks and things around them.
Back here live, heard from plenty of people that don't like the clocks. They want the home to come down. So here's the very latest. The city says they had to wait for the police to clear the home to make sure they got all the evidence out of it. Now work is underway in the next couple of days or weeks to get this on a demolition bid list, a demolition pipeline, as well as a home around the corner here on Coventry, also related to the serial killer case. Kimberly, back to you.
And we know you'll keep us informed, Sean. We appreciate it.
2 men charged in connection with the shooting of an 11-year-old boy in Pontiac were sentenced to probation today.
Jordan Hernandez was found guilty of a guns charge and given 2 years probation, while Angel Alvarez pleaded guilty to charges and was given 3 years probation. The 11-year-old was shot in the leg after an argument between his cousin and the shooter at a party store last year. Both Hernandez and Alvarez have no previous criminal history.
Man who prosecutors say was the leader of the Victory Inn human trafficking and drug ring is in federal custody after years on the run. Derek Bell was one of the government's most wanted fugitives. He was indicted on human trafficking and drugs charges for his role in the ring that was run out, according to prosecutors, of the now torn down Victory Inn. This is Sky 4 footage of the motel in Monroe where Bell was arrested. Bell had more than $12,000 in cash and drugs on him when the feds found him.
Earlier this afternoon, President Trump announced the U.S. will apply a new tariff of 10% on about $300 billion of Chinese goods beginning on September 1st. The president tweeting out the announcement amid slow-moving talks with China. While negotiations will continue with China, President Trump blamed them for not following through on stopping the sale of fentanyl to the United States.